Hello, my name is Joe Sampson, and this is the executive summary for the Laconia Middle School Professional Development Plan, a instructional rounds approach to improving reading differentiation. The Professional Development Plan for Laconia Middle School, LMS, is designed to support reading teachers in their training to become better differentiators of instruction and content. Teachers at LMS are responsible for educating students in the three tiers of the Response to Intervention, RTI, model. In order to do this effectively, teachers must have a plan for differentiating each lesson so that students in their classrooms who are at different levels are taught properly. In this new model, differentiation is key. In the last year, LMS has transitioned to an RTI model, response to intervention. We all know that in response to intervention, students are organized into three tiers, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, but no longer are classes organized homogeneously. Rather, they are organized heterogeneously. So students in 2 to 3 tiers will be mixed within core classes. So this is so important because students who are at the lower level of understanding need peer models in order to help them close the achievement gap. It's so important. So in order for us as a district to transition to this new model effectively, we need to give our professional staff time to really hone in their lesson plans, which are so great, and make sure that they're leveled and differentiated appropriately for this new style of education. In order to do this, we have devised a plan to have an instructional rounds approach to professional development where teachers have the opportunity to learn and work on their instruction with other teachers. They're set up in peer groups so that they can have those collegial conversations and work towards improving their instruction together. What are instructional rounds and what are they going to look like at Laconia Middle School? The first piece of instructional rounds are teachers within a peer group observe each other's teaching. So teachers have a group of 4 to 5 to sometimes 6 teachers that are teaching a similar subject. For us, reading. It could be LA teachers, reading interventionists, or a mixture of both. Those people meet together and then they see each member of the group teach. Then after those rounds, there's a collegial discussion that happens where teachers get to talk about what they observed. Hey, this worked great. I really liked what you did there. You know, I've had that problem too, and this is what I did to fix it. Positive conversations like that where teachers within those peer groups solve the problems that they have and think of better ways to differentiate their instruction. And then after this, appropriate professional development is devised and decided upon by the group. Which conferences are we going to go to? Which things within the district do you think are useful for us to attend for professional development purposes? Just basically the group, the peer group, decides what the best course of action is for their own professional development. It's personalized. Our professional development plan is broken up into 3 phases, 10 steps, and 2 years, meaning each year has those 3 phases, and within those 3 phases there are 10 steps, and you do each of those 3 phases and 10 steps twice. This gives teachers the opportunity to go through the rounds, understand kind of how rounds work the first year, have an opportunity to do professional development, and then do it all over again to strengthen and build upon our toolkit as teachers for a second year. So, phase 1, establish peer groups using reading data and conduct instructional rounds. Simple. We look at data from last year. We look at data from this year on the students that we are working with. We figure out who is struggling, why are they struggling, where are they struggling. The data that we use is NIWA data. That data is used for Tier 1 students, and NIWA happens 3 times a year. And then for the Tier 2 and Tier 3 students, we'll be using Ames Web data, as well as some easy CBM and other observational data from classes. From here, we go to phase 2. This is the exciting phase. This is where peer groups are finished talking to one another about what they've seen in their instructional rounds. Now they get to go and select the professional development that they want to go to, that they feel as a group fits with the discussions they've had about what's happening in their classrooms. How can we get better at this? How can we better differentiate our instruction so that we can teach to all three of those tiers? Phase 3, we come back from that professional development and we go through the second round of instructional rounds. This is pretty cool. So after that professional development happens, within the structure that we've designed, there's a couple months where teachers have an opportunity to really put into practice the techniques that they've learned for differentiation from their professional development. When phase 3 comes around, we have that second round of instructional rounds so that our peer groups that we're still a part of have an opportunity to see what's changed. These people within these peer groups have seen how we have changed throughout the year. That's really powerful. To help guide teachers in their instructional rounds professional development plan, we have designed a clear timeline of events in order to ensure that all the phases are covered. So in September and early October, the Professional Development Committee is formed. This is an opportunity for professional staff from around the building to apply for positions on that Professional Development Committee, and administrators then make selections for who will be a part of the committee. From that committee, peer groups are formed where members of the Professional Development Committee are leaders or peer leaders, professional leaders of each of those peer groups. Then the peer groups meet and look over the same data that the Professional Development Committee looked over and decide where they'd like to start to focus their conversations and also to get ready for instructional rounds. The first set of instructional rounds happen right in November and December, and that is the first opportunity for all the peer members to see each of the members of their group teach. Then each member of each peer group hears feedback from the other members after they've done the instructional rounds. And then in January and February, professional development is agreed upon by the group so that it's for them. And then they also complete that professional development within that January-February timeframe. When March and April roll around, it's an opportunity for the members of the peer group, after going through the professional development experience or experiences that they agreed upon, to then implement the differentiation techniques they've learned through the professional development opportunities. And then lastly, the second set of instructional rounds happen in May, and conversations and goal closeouts happen in May and June, and then they get ready for, the peer groups get ready for the second round of all of these steps the following year. So if professional staff stick to this timeline, it really makes the experience work well. It makes sure that everyone hits every step. It makes sure things are getting done. People are making sure that people are getting to professional development opportunities. Everything works great if we stick to this. It's important to remember that the professional development plan aligns really well with the district mission and strategic plan, ensuring success in every student, every day, in every way. The 5 parts of the strategic plan are very clear. 2 of them are very connected to the community. 1 is connected to college and career life ready. The next, 21st century learning environments. This is connected to technology use in the district. And last, curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Our professional development plan is connected really closely to the college and career life ready and curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Students learn core reading skills for lifelong reading. By doing this professional development plan, it gives kids the opportunity to learn these core skills for life for their career, so that they can read their phone bill, so that they can participate in higher education, you name it. Next, curriculum instruction assessment. This is where we really concentrate on differentiating the instruction. This is how these students learn the career and life-ready skills, namely reading. Earlier, it was mentioned that within the peer groups and within the professional development committee, professionals will be discussing data, and they'll be basing some of their decisions, some of their conversations, and definitely their professional development around data and what students are doing right now. Two of the major pieces of data that we'll be using are NEWA data and Ames Web data. NEWA data, it comes from the NEWA tests that happen in the fall, the winter, and the spring. Ames Web data happens bi-weekly and monthly, depending on which tier the students are in. Tier 2 students test Ames Web monthly. Tier 3 students are bi-weekly, and it really gets a close look at how students are progressing, what type of instruction is working, what's sticking, and what isn't. So the big picture, NEWA. As you can see, 8th grade NEWA data shows that our 8th grade readers they're above the norm, and it's great to see, and they're growing right with the same trajectory as the norm and staying above the norm. The same can be said for 8th grade Ames Web Tier 2 progress monitoring data. As you can see here, we have September, October, November, and December. A number of Tier 2 students are listed here, and you can see that the trend is going up. They're learning consistently more and more. They're scoring more and more. You can look in there, and there are a few students who go down. There are a few students who scores stay relatively low. They're learning, but they're not quite up with their peers. This is an opportunity for a peer group, an 8th grade peer group, to take a look and think of interventions that will help support those individuals who are still struggling. 7th grade NEWA. This is a little different story. As you can see, the trajectory for NEWA testing for 7th grade is actually going down and is slightly below the New Hampshire norm. This would be a starting point for a real discussion with a peer group in 7th grade. Let's look closely at this data. This is the starting point, and let's see if we can dig deeper when we get to Ames Web. So when you look closer at Ames Web, we have two different classes here, and you can see that in one of the classes, the blue lines, or the December lines and November lines, are slightly higher. In others, sometimes those blue lines and gray lines are lower than the earlier September and October lines. So this is kind of linking to the other data that we've already seen, the NEWA data. So again, this backs up the trend of the NEWA data, not quite as severely. The trajectory is still quite positive. There aren't too many instances where the December line is lower than the September line. So by seeing this, we know the kids are learning, but we know that there is some improvement to be made. That's where the peer group will start their discussion. Now 6th grade NEWA data. Looks very similar to 8th grade NEWA data. The scores are slightly lower. In 8th grade, the NEWA data was up in the 220s, but still it's nice to see that we are a couple of points above the norm, and our trajectory is positive in the same way that the state's norm is. So these are all really positive things to see. Again, NEWA is a starting point. It's not as detailed as Ames Web data. Moving on to Ames Web data, you can see, again, the trends are a little different than what we saw in NEWA. So this is where we, as a peer group, will take a really close look. As you can see, there are a lot of January numbers that are lower than December. So December was a big month. They did really well in December. They didn't do quite as well in January. Does this mean they lost a few things when they went home for Christmas break? There's a lot of things to consider here. So you can't absolutely define what's happening in the building by this testing data, but it gives you a snapshot, and it gives you an opportunity to discuss changes in instruction. So the next part of the process, this is where we're going to go through the action steps. We've kind of brushed over these action steps quickly when we went over the timeline and kind of gave you an idea of what the whole process looks like. Now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. These are the steps that we take. NIWA and AIMSweb data are reviewed by administration to take a look at where the problems in the building lie with regard to reading. The data is reviewed then by the Professional Development Committee once it is assembled. Then professional development peer groups are formed. Each member from the Professional Development Committee will lead a peer group. Instructional rounds commence. Focus is put on how teachers differentiate to the variability levels in their classroom with regard to reading. Peer groups then research professional development that they feel suits the needs of their group. Members of the peer group attend professional development conference opportunities as well as professional development around the district. After returning from professional development conferences and different experiences around the district, the peer groups decide which differentiation techniques best fit the needs of their students. After a period of implementation for these new strategies, the second set of instructional rounds happen. A final discussion is had between the members of the peer group where members discuss what they are planning on implementing permanently into their practice. In addition to this, there is a conversation about their plans for the next year or the second set of all of these rounds. A formal reflection is then written by each of the members of the group to just talk about what about the plan worked, what didn't, what was successful. It's really important to reflect on this process to make sure that it's working the best it possibly can for the professional staff who are using it. Next, there are a series of documents that are designed to support the PD process. The first of which is the Professional Development Plan Revision Guide. This is an opportunity for people who partake in the Professional Development Plan to reflect on how they think the Professional Development Plan went and what needs to change to make it better. The next document is a Committee Selection Data Collection Guide. This is a document that the administrative team uses when selecting members for the Professional Development Committee. Next is the PD Plan Checklist. This is just a basic guide to making sure that all of the different action plan items are being checked off. So it's a long year. There are a lot of months, there are a lot of phases, there are a lot of steps. It's important to make sure that we keep track of all of these different pieces. The next document is the Data Collection Matrix. This document is used by peer groups and also by the Professional Development Committee to help sort and organize all of the different data sources that are coming in, and also to make sure that they know who is supposed to be using this data, who is finding out about it, who it's being shared to, how it's being processed, etc. The next document is the Instructional Rounds Observation Guide. This is the guide that's used by each member of the peer group when they are actually observing each peer member's teaching. The last document is the Peer Group Professional Development Reflection Form. This is an opportunity for each member of the peer group to reflect upon which pieces of the plan best positively influenced their teaching. Was it the discussion? Was it the instructional rounds? Was it the varied experiences through professional development? Which step was the most useful for them? It's important to remember these little details when the teacher goes into their next year of teaching. In closing, this plan was developed to help support kids, every kid. Make this plan your own. Use it. Be honest with the members of your peer group. Work together to help each other. Each person in that peer group can gain to change something, to improve something, but also help someone else. And last but not least, use the peer leaders and the administrative team as a guide. If you have questions, if you want to change something, if there's something you think that you can improve for the plan, be honest. Come and talk to us. Our doors are open, and we're happy to work and make this the best plan possible. Thank you.